And then, all right, so non como nuestro. I don't know. It shouldn't be too low. Let's.
Somewhere around F, maybe?
Oh, really? Yeah, let's try F. Let's try. F might be high. Non como nuestro Dios, non como nuestro Señor, non como nuestro Rey, non como nuestro Salvador. It's fine. Ein Keloheinu, ein Kadoneinu, ein Kemalkeinu, Kemoshienu, non como nuestro Dios, non como nuestro Señor, non como nuestro Rey, non como nuestro Salvador. Yeah, good, yay. I don't know if we could I mean, is that, whatever. It's like a fun Ladino song, and it's Cinco de Mayo. That's the theme. It was for Cinco de Mayo, but, huh? What is that? Oh, let's play it for an.
No, I just wanted to check a chord.
enjoying the snacks, but start making your way inside and join us. We'll begin in just a moment. Shabbat Shalom. The words of this
First
nigun
first,
with
yes.
no words is
No
what we'll
words,
start
just
with.
yai-da-da-dai. Sing with us. Hi-ya-la-la-ya. No, that's not how it goes. How does it go again? You're doing great. Keep going.
Turn to page 24 or 142, words of our greeting on Shabbat. We welcome the ministering angels into our midst, bringing a little bit of the heavens here into our celebration of Shabbat. Page 24 or 142, the words of Shalom Aleichem.
That is fun.
That is fun. That's a good noise. Shabbat Shalom. That is a joyful noise. Shabbat Shalom. Whether you are here in person or joining us virtually, it is good to be with you, good to have you with us as we welcome Shabbat into our midst this evening. This sort of gray day after a kind of gray week, and perhaps some of us are sort of feeling more gray than others. The sun was shining last week, I remember it, do you? But still we have light here in our midst for Shabbat. We also have Shabbat bags of activities. So if there are any little kids that need something to do with their hands, perhaps, there are some Shabbat bags with some quiet activities in the back. So feel free to help yourselves to those if that's helpful. Or dance in the aisles. I love it. We'll continue our service by bringing a little bit of extra light into our Shabbat service, into our midst here in the sanctuary. So I'll call up the family of our B'nai Mitzvah, Erica Waxer, Jacob Steinberger, and Adina Steinberger, Daniel Waxer, Mary Waxer, Enid Sherman, Mark Sherman, Jules Sherman, Kyle Greenberg, Wendy Babiat, Ira Babiat, Charles and Catherine Greenberg, and Stephen Greenberg. Candle lighting is on page 2 or 120.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu le'adlik ner
So Adina and Kyle, I'm going to ask you to come up here and lead us in Kiddush. So here, one of you can hold that. We're on page 5 or 123, and I'll ask your families to stay up here with the two of you.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho ve'ahavahu v'ratzon Zikaron Maaseh Bereshit Ki hu Yom Tehillah Lemikrei Kodesh Zeh Yetziat Mitzrayim Ki vanu v'harta ve'otanu kidashta Mikol Hamim V'Shabbat Kodshecha V'Ahava U'Veratzon Chinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Continue our service. The words of Lecha Dodi, page 20 or 138. And we'll sing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9.
Shabbat,
Shabbat Mekabela Lechadoni Yala la 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 Likrat Kala Yala la 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 Penei Shabbat Penei Shabbat
As we reach this point of transition between Kabbalat Shabbat and the Mariv service, the evening service, there's a tradition on Friday nights that this is the point when we welcome mourners into our midst. With the traditional words of the Jewish people, we extend to those who have come from a house of mourning, Hamakom yanachem etchem b'toch sha'ar avelei Tzion v'Yerushalayim. May God comfort you and all those who mourn among Zion and Jerusalem. Continue our service, our prayer of community, the words of Baruch Hu, page 28 or 146. Page 32 or 150, words of love. Page, words of Shema.
We'd like to invite up Jack Rosen, next week's bar mitzvah, to help lead us in Shema and Ve'ahavta.
Jack will lead us on page 36 or 154 in the Ve'ahavta.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך וחיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ולכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך לישערך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אני הוצאתי אתם מארץ מצרים להיות להם אלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיהם.
Continue with Mi Chamocha, page 40 or 158.
אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גל ישראל.
Give us a place to rest, Adonai our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. Prayer for shelter and protection and peace is on page 42 or 160. We'll sing the words of Hashkivenu together.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom
Shamor and Zachor. Guard and remember Shabbat, or keep and protect Shabbat. We read these words in the book of Exodus and we sing them on Friday nights, I think to make us feel a little bit better about being here at Hard. That we're doing this work that we were commanded to do way back in the days of Exodus. Page 44 or 162, we'll sing those words V'shamru together. On page 46 or 164, we'll begin the Amidah, our standing prayer, the central portion of our worship this evening. We'll begin with some words of communal prayer and then take some time for our own private prayers as well. Whether those are the words on the page through page 63 or whatever words are in your hearts tonight. We'll rise, if for those who are able, I'll invite you to rise. We'll sing these first few blessings together and then take some time for our own private prayer, and you can be seated when you've finished your own prayer. Page 48.
Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Koneh HaKol, Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei Vneihem, Le'man Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah.
Page 50.
Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Nechaya Kol Atah Rab Le'hoshia, Morid Hatah, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechaye HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofech Olim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Baal Gevurot, Omidah Melach, Melech Memit Umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah l'chayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh ha'akol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, U'kadoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha selah, Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el ha'kadosh.
Holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God.
We are on page 62. Erica Waxer, Adina's tomorrow, one of tomorrow's B'nai Mitzvah. Her mom is such a beautiful singer. Thank you, Erica. That was beautiful.
There is strength in our gathering and coming together, and there is strength in being able to gather even if you're not able to be here physically. Perhaps you're home streaming the service tonight because you're ill and perhaps in need of healing, but we offer our Misha Berach prayer, our prayer of healing for those who are ill, those who are experiencing physical difficulty, or mental difficulty, spiritual difficulty perhaps. To our community, we'll extend words of healing, prayers for healing to Jerry Behar, Susan Carlson, Diane Denenberg, John Devine, Candace Drutzas, Rudy Andrizzi, Marty Gelman, Selena Glader, Valerie Goss, Moritz Huppert, Donald Korn, Jordan Leon, Megan Martinez, Barbara Nachman, Judith Ovadia, Sophia Palisban, Peter, Rabbi Lori Phillips, Bobby Rosencrans, Roberta Rudman, Gary Silver, Stephen Abraham Simon, David Baruch Ben Simona, Sandy Spector, Julie Sutcliffe, Glenn Williams, and Katie Wilson. If there's someone you're thinking of this evening, I invite you to share their names at this time. We'll sing the words of Misha Berach together on page 253 or 371. Freedom begins with a book. This idea is powerful and is at the core of the work of an organization called Freedom Reads, a first-of-its-kind organization that uses literature to empower people to confront what prison does to the spirit by placing millions of books into prisons, one 500-book freedom library at a time, until they've opened one in every prison dormitory and housing unit in the United States. The Freedom Library and other literary initiatives support the efforts of people in prison to imagine new possibilities for their lives. The power of a book is also an idea that Jews for millennia have understood as part of the fabric of our being. There's a reason that we're known as the people of the book. Perhaps this is why when our congregant Debbie Muckamal invited me to join her to volunteer with her and her friends at Freedom Reads, I jumped at the chance and found myself spending this past Tuesday inside the correctional training facility in Soledad, also known as Soledad State Prison. Some of you may know that for the past 5 or 6 years, I've been leading our teens, mostly 11th and 12th graders, one of whom is here tonight, on a civil rights journey through the American South. And this past February, I led our first trip for adults, many of whom were parents of the teens who had joined me in years past. It's a powerful experience. We explore the history of the civil rights movement, traveling through Alabama. We visit Montgomery and Selma and Birmingham, and end our trip in Atlanta at Dr. King's family neighborhood and his church, Ebenezer Baptist Church. Over the course of the trip, we also consider the broader experience of Black Americans and people of color, and start to challenge some of the narratives of race, class, and privilege, and really interrogate the philosophy of white supremacy that developed over centuries of enslaving African people and their descendants, and then used to maintain a sense of fear and authority in the period of Reconstruction and the segregation laws of the Jim Crow South. Driving through these places, past cotton fields and warehouses where enslaved people were held before being sold in town squares, gives you a visceral connection to the history. I've run this trip 5 times now, and it affects me deeply each and every time. As part of the trip, we visit the Equal Justice Initiative's Legacy Museum and the National Memorial for Peace and Justice, the first monument to memorialize victims of racial terror lynchings throughout the American South. EJI was founded by Brian Stevenson, a lawyer who has dedicated his career to challenging excessive and unfair sentencing, exonerating innocent death row prisoners, confronting abuse of the incarcerated and the mentally ill, and aiding children prosecuted as adults, in addition to creating these 2 powerful sites of memory. Stevenson has been a powerful voice in challenging some of the assumptions of America's criminal justice system. Walking through the Legacy Museum, which lays out Stevenson's thesis that slavery in America didn't end, it evolved, you experience a story of the many horrors people with black skin faced over the history of this country, all the way up through their overrepresentation in today's system of mass incarceration. There are 2 ideas that Stevenson conveys, both in these spaces, in talks, and in his book, Just Mercy, that always stay with me after encountering these narratives. One is on a magnet that hangs in my office. Each of us is more than the worst thing we've ever done. And the second, you cannot change the world if you don't allow yourself to get proximal to the challenge and the problems that you care about. After each of these trips, it's always a challenge to try to figure out the right next steps, how to bring what we've learned back home. Is it advocacy or volunteering or relationship building or something else? Much of it already overlaps with the various social justice initiatives at Beth Am that congregants are already working on. And I'm always struck by Beth Am's history of a commitment to the civil rights movement and the many stories about Rabbi Axelrod and the time he spent putting his body on the line to advance the cause of civil rights. I always teach my teens when we're in Selma that we're following in Rabbi Axelrod's footsteps. But back in February, after returning from the adult civil rights trip, the participants and I began processing our trip and thinking collectively about various actions we might take, and also what more we needed to learn and read about the current state of race and these various systems in America in order to proceed in an informed way. So it's no surprise that when I was talking with Debbie, one of our Beth Am board members and someone who has dedicated her professional life to making enduring change in the criminal justice system, most recently as the executive director of the Stanford Criminal Justice Center at Stanford Law School, one of her suggestions for a concrete service opportunity was to bring some of our most recent trip participants to prison to volunteer with Freedom Reads. Which brings me back to this past Tuesday at the Soledad State Prison, installing Freedom libraries of 500 books each in 12 different housing units, 24 between the two groups there with Freedom Reads that day, and 36 if you count the additional 12 libraries that were installed by 3 other Beth Am volunteers on Monday at the Central California Women's Facility in Chowchilla. Freedom Reads was founded by Reginald Dwayne Betts, a poet and Yale-educated lawyer who, before getting degrees in poetry and the law, served 9 years in prison. Dwayne is candid about his time in prison and about the crime that landed him there. But he also speaks powerfully about the transformative experience he had while in solitary confinement because of a book. He explains, "I survived solitary and rediscovered a sense of freedom the system had tried to beat out of me because of a book. I realized that a poem can give somebody a whole world of hope. And after reading that book, I dedicated myself to helping other prisoners and people outside of prison discover the freedom blueprint that poetry, literature, and other arts can provide." So on Tuesday, the other volunteers and I worked side by side with the Freedom Reads staff, including James, who would explain a bit about the library and its purpose and share his own story with the inmates after installing each library. James had just been released 8 months ago after serving 25 years in Angola prison in Louisiana. It was powerful to watch the inmates who we talked with as we installed each library, but who perhaps eyed us with a bit of trepidation, a look of, why are these people we don't know giving us books? Do they pity us? But when James would share his story and Dwayne's story, there was an immediate connection and a true sense of credibility and authenticity. This was not something an outsider was doing because they thought these inmates needed it. No, this was the project of people that had stood where they stood and understood the power that books could offer. As James would explain, a book can help you imagine a place or a world or a concept that your brain can't even begin to comprehend before reading that book, because it is so completely foreign to you. A book can help you imagine a different world, a different path, and perhaps provide a sense of hope. A book can also be an invitation to build community, providing a different kind of entry point into a conversation between two people who may have read the same book. And these freedom libraries aren't just a pile of books on rickety shelves. There's an understanding that so much of life in prison is made up of concrete and metal and straight lines. So Dwayne sought out craftsmen to fabricate solid wood bookshelves made of cherry and oak and walnut with a beautiful curve to them, taking each bookshelf off the U-Haul and bringing them into each housing unit, right in the center of where inmates eat and sleep and spend their days. That was the first thing that the residents would comment on, is just how beautiful these pieces of furniture were. The shop that Freedom Reads works with also makes a point of hiring people who have served time in prison, like James. The bookshelves themselves are a conversation piece, crafted with thoughtful intention, care, and love. The collection of books are also incredibly thoughtful and intentional, including contemporary works of fiction and nonfiction, classics like Homer's The Odyssey and the Iliad, books of poetry and philosophy. While Freedom Reads keeps the full list under wraps, I noticed a few Jewish authors as well, works by Philip Roth and Hannah Arendt's Eichmann in Jerusalem on the banality of evil. At the end of the day, the volunteers and Freedom Read staff went out to lunch at 4 o'clock. And over a delicious meal, we got to learn more about the broader efforts of the organization and the other prisons that they visited to install freedom libraries, around 150 so far. I also got the chance to sit with Dwayne and reflect on the day and get to know him a bit better. To say he's brilliant would be an understatement. I shared that it was really a unique opportunity to humanize a group of people who are so often in our society dehumanized, reduced to being identified by their crime. He pushed back, reminding me that they're always human. It reminded me of a Talmudic story in which Rabbi Meir's wife, Bruria, chastises him to be careful to avoid calling someone who has sinned a sinner, and rather distinguish the person and their action, referring to them as a person who has sinned rather than a sinner. As I thought about it, I realized that encountering these inmates on such a human level, in their living space, however complex, really went about undehumanizing them, creating opportunities for some powerful moments of human-to-human connection, even if fleeting. In talking about how much the day had affected me, I mentioned to him that I noticed Eichmann in Jerusalem, and we ended up having a deep conversation about Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning that he wrote while in a concentration camp. We talked about Frankl's message that even in the midst of unimaginable bleakness, humans have the capacity to find hope. He said he really resonated with that idea and how important it is to really internalize that idea and make it personal. This was a big part of what he's trying to do with Freedom Reads, to remind this group of people who some in society may have written off because of what they've done, that there is a world beyond the prison walls, and that sometimes hope can come from within yourself as well. At Beth Am and as Jews, we understand the power of a book, of access to imagination and information. Over the years, we've worked hard through our Equal Start initiative to create access and increase access to books and education for the youngest and most vulnerable residents of California, and have built libraries and resources for local preschools. A few years ago, we donated books that our library no longer needed to the California prison system. There is great power in a book, in study. As our tradition teaches, turn it and turn it again, for everything is in it. Shabbat Shalom. So we will continue our service on page 278 or 570. We are in the midst of counting the Omer, counting up from Passover, this sort of journey from oppression to freedom, from slavery to receiving Torah on Shavuot, counting up the days towards that moment of Shavuot. And so we're marking tonight the 30th day of the Omer. I know, we're supposed to say yesterday we marked the 29th day of the Omer. So you can do the math. But we'll sing this beautiful melody on page 278 or 570.
Just
praise to you, Adonai, sovereign of all, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to count the Omer. Hayom shloshim yom shehem arba shavuot u'shnei yamim la'omer. Today is the 30th day, which is 4 weeks and 2 days of the Omer. And we will now rise, if you are able, on page 282 at the bottom of the page for Aleinu L'Shabeach. Page 282 or 586.
Aleinu L'Shabeach L'Adon HaKol, L'Teit Gedulah L'Yotzei Bereshit, Shelo Asanu Kegoyei Ha'aratzot, Ve'lo Samanu Kemishpechot Ha'adama.
Seated. One quick announcement. Our May Tzedakah box this month, now that we are solidly in May, Revenge of the 5th, I'm told, is where we're at. Yesterday was May the 4th be with you, and today is Revenge of the 5th. The Star Wars fans will get that, but
I just like Cinco de Mayo better.
Or Cinco de Mayo, yes. But here we are in May. Our Tzedakah box this month is going to the Jordan River Village, and their mission is to support seriously ill children of all backgrounds from Israel and surrounding areas to reach beyond their medical conditions through free camp programs designed to foster fun, independence, resilience, and personal growth. And they're located out in the Galilee. In Israel. So I encourage you to drop some money, if you carry money on Shabbat, drop some money in our tzedakah box in the foyer, or you can donate online on our website or through Venmo or Beth-Am. Also want to give a special shout out to our wonderful musicians, Fred, Be'eri, Ken, and Russell, just for lifting us up as always. Thank you so much for being here. As we turn our attention to our prayer of mourning, offer these words by Hannah Senesh. There are stars up above, so far away we only see their light, long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. If I read the name of your loved one, I invite you to rise in their honor and remain standing. This week we are in the period of Shiva, the first week of mourning for Suzanne Vicky Langer, mother of Lisa Langer, mother-in-law of Dan Siegel, grandmother of Jacob and Ben Siegel. We're in the period of Shloshim for Susan Markowitz, David Allen Lips, Dovid Ben Yirmiyahu, Marlene Riebman, and Joseph Joe Jarzinka. This Shabbat marks the yahrzeit, the anniversary of death of Shirley Jean Arola, Olga Leibovich Atanasov, Donna Blank, James Brooks, Sarah Chachko, June Scher, Edith Cohn, David Krakauer, Bob Dressler, Joseph Duchovny, Raina Fail, Jaron Feldstein, Phyllis Kahn Fisher, Joseph Ford, Evelyn Frank, Sylvan Frankel, Ike Galinsky, Raymond Gold, Dorothy Gray, Enid Grossman, Molly Height, Nathan Harrison, Lisa Hunter, Hal Jacoby, Ronald Dean Jamtgard, Rhea Cates, Hilton Court, Rhoda Kroll, Diane Lavergata, Matthew Lash, Esteli Sandler Levbarg, Lawrence Levin, William Lowenberg, Egon Lustig, Jane Megapinto, Gertrude Maltzman, Elaine Marcus, Moisey Mebel, Emily Morgenstern, Harry Mervite, Shia Nays, Sylvia Pan, Rabbi Aaron D. Pankin, Ph.D., Passia Rabin, Robert S. Ratner, Anita Rao, Ethel Rosencrans, Harry Rothblatt, Zelda Ruttenberg, Molly Sagan, Solomon Salim, Faye Schaefer, Rhea Schnorr, William Selak, Edith Shadle, Harry Wallace Shadle, Sonia Strauss, Herman Tabor, Chaim Teuter, Dorothy Walker, Jean Weil, Hannah Cow-Weprin, Micah May Yisrael, Beatrice Yormark, and Robert Zom. If there's someone who you are remembering, I invite you to rise and share their name out loud. We rise together as a community of support and solidarity as we turn to the words of Mourner's Kaddish, page 294 or 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divra chirutei v'amlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'vyomechon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lamei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalei v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, ta'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'ol kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. May the source of peace, who causes peace on high, bring peace to us and all who mourn. And we say together, amen.
All right. I was thinking that I have a lot of friends from Mexico City, Jewish friends. I think all of them are Ashkenazic Jews. But still, I thought I wanted to just celebrate a little bit. So we're going to sing Ein Keloheinu Non Como Nuestro Dios, which is a Ladino and Hebrew version of Ein Keloheinu. The words are found on page 327. I'm sure there are some Sephardic Jews who would know this in Mexico as well. But here we go. Okay, it's fun. This is a fun one. Join along. 1, 2. Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kemalkeinu, Ein Kemoshienu, non como nuestro Dios, non como nuestro Señor, non como nuestro Rey. nuestro Salvador.
All right, we're going to bring Kyle and Adina back up here to lead us in Motzi. Ready? Here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
Say shalom bimroma, say shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, amen. Hey, la 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 la. La 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 la. Take it. Say shalom b'moma, say shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel.